high school.
Another 17 lives lost.
I'm tired of going to school and being scared all the time.
Now, students are taking a stand across the country, marching, hoping their voices are heard.
What do we want? Gun control! When do we want it now?
As lawmakers and school administrators struggle to find a way to protect a generation under fire.
Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us tonight as we take a look at the seemingly growing problem of deadly violence in our schools and the efforts to keep children safe. I'm Bill Maessa.
Hello, I'm Dominique Saxa. Across the country, students, parents, teachers, and lawmakers are all looking to find better ways to keep our children safe. We have team coverage from D.C. to Florida to right here in Houston tonight as we touch on some of the issues facing those searching for a solution.
But we begin with a look at events this weekend in our nation's capital and all across the country, when many thousands of students rallied demanding action to make their schools safer.
Here in Houston, nearly 15,000 gathered in downtown to join the 800 other marches across the world.
And in our nation's capital, an estimated 800,000 people gathered for the march, filling Pennsylvania Avenue and the surrounding streets for blocks.
Students, their friends, and supporters made that call to march on D.C. right after 17 people were killed in that deadly shooting in Parkland, Florida.
Many of those attending traveled from Parkland, but others came from all across the country to participate. Channel 2's Roseanne Aragon traveled to Washington, D.C. this weekend to cover the march for you.
Here at our nation's capital, that march filled the streets. It was a massive event organized by high school students who wanted their message heard loud and clear. A fury of passion. The March for Our Lives, led by those who survived the deadly shooting in Parkland, Florida. Organizer Emma Gonzalez named each of the students and staff who died. She then went silent for more than 4 minutes.
It has been 6 minutes and 20 seconds. The shooter has ceased shooting and will soon abandon his rifle, blend in with the students as they escape, and walk free for an hour before arrest.
15-year-old Nicole Sachs traveled from Houston because she sees herself in these students.
Every day there's a slight fear that someone I know or me personally will get hurt from guns.
29 Emory Weiner students and their teacher couldn't wait to be here.
I think that it's just as important to have these marches across the country.
I can help the people of the United States, and maybe that's just my young attitude and my idealism.
This is David's first march. For others, how long have you been marching?
Since 1965 against the war in Vietnam.
Why are you marching today?
Because these kids need to be supported.
8-year-old Nyla Faye Fox and her best friend stated so simply.
I want people to live rather than die because I think everybody deserves to stay alive.
Students empowering students to put on an event that Alou says is life-changing.
I will, from now until the day I die, I will be calling senators, calling anyone running to be my representative in the government.
The students say their ultimate goal is to keep schools safe, but are students protected from each other? Many are now looking to the issue of bullying. I spoke with a family who knows that issue all too well, and I asked professionals, is bullying a factor to the violence?
She was like real uplifting person, she had this like spirit of being who she was and doing what she wanted.
Michelle Vela is living life without her big sister.
She was really nice. She did not like to be mean to anybody.
18-year-old Brandy Vela's kindness was not returned. Her father, Raul, says she was the victim of bullying.
It started off as basic name calling, you big fat pig, you slob. And then it went to the point where people were using her picture.
Cyberbullying. People created fake online dating profiles and used social media to attack her.
She went from being a person that took 30 minutes to an hour just to leave the house to get the makeup right and get everything to where she wasn't doing all that anymore.
November of 2016, Brandy would take her own life. Bullying, an issue that affects roughly 1 in 4 students.
Studies have shown that starting at the age of 8, kids who are bullied are going to be more prone to depression, more prone to anger issues, more prone to substance abuse issues.
Of the top 10 deadliest mass shootings, nearly half happened on school grounds. With the Virginia Tech and the Florida school shootings, both shooters were bullied. But are the bullied or mentally ill more likely to become mass shooters? NAMI Executive Director Glenn Urbach says no.
The majority of children and people with mental illness are not violent. The majority of people who are mentally ill are the victims of violence.
He says the stigma of mental health and bullying is harmful. Only in rare cases do people resort to mass shootings, and bullying is just one of several factors.
They go to those schools not just to target those bullying, they're really targeting the entire school because they find the school's at fault. The child understands that why didn't the school stop this?
But recent research does show that those who are bullied are more likely to report access to a loaded gun without permission, a risk factor that researchers say should spark comprehensive intervention in schools.
My school started a club. It's called the Sting Out Bullying Club.
Texas City ISD provides an app called P3 to report bullying, and
our president created a Snapchat where you can report some of the cyberbullying.
At HISD, the main focus is on prevention.
If you go into any of our buildings, you'll see a focus on building relationships with the students.
Urbach says bridging the gap of communication between schools, parents, and children is the best way to stop bullying.
Talk to your child, get educated on bullying.
Raul Vela says while he can't get his daughter back, he can share her story.
Somehow I was able to turn all that anger into something more positive, you know, getting the word out. I'm like, I need to let people know that this isn't right. We need to do something. We need to change.
NAMI has resources on mental health and bullying. For more information on that, you can head to our website, clicktohouston.com/generationunderfire. Coming up, we take a look into the issue of school safety. Leading architects take me into an exclusive look behind the design process and how these shootings have changed the way they work. Back to you.
Well, it was 6 weeks ago that a gunman walked into Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. He shot and killed 17 people on Valentine's Day. The suspect in that shooting, Nicholas Cruz, now faces 17 counts of premeditated murder. Longtime Channel 2 reporter Jennifer Bauer now lives just minutes from Douglas High School. She returned to the campus this week to see how things have changed over the past 6 weeks.
In front of Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, there's a memorial to the 17 people who were shot and killed. It stretches around the block. Candles, crosses, stuffed animals, and many handwritten notes. People have been coming to Parkland from all over to pay their respects. A constant, steady stream of mourners for nearly 6 weeks now.
This actually is a little bit healing for the community, I think. All the people coming in, showing their support, compassion in the air. Everyone understands that this is a time of healing.
Andrea Ingham came from Canada to see the memorial in person. This is how she chose to spend her spring break.
They're probably the most outspoken group of survivors in the history of the U.S. And I was just wanting to pay my respects more than anything.
Around Parkland, there are constant reminders about what happened on Valentine's Day. Many of the neighborhoods have put up signs and planted flowers in the shape of hearts. There are 17 of them directly across from the school. Of course, the students who were in the school that day don't need any reminders. It's something they'll never forget. And that's why so many of them have taken a stand against guns. They've already changed laws here in Florida. And they aren't done yet.
And this whole thing it is about guns.
Adam Buchwald is a junior at Stoneman Douglas. He was in the school the day of the shooting.
You could just hear gunshots, people running, people screaming.
Adam and his family moved to Parkland 3 years ago. Coincidentally, they used to live in Connecticut, just minutes away from Sandy Hook Elementary. They never thought they'd be living this nightmare again.
I could relate to both tragedies.
Nobody in their right mind would think something happened in this small, safe town that we had of Parkland.
Adam and his best friend Zach wanted to do something, so they created the website parentspromisetokids.org. They want moms and dads to download their contract and promise to only support legislative leaders who are in support of keeping kids safe.
Our main goal is to give children a voice at the ballot box. Anyone under 18 can't vote right now, so this is what we're doing, is we're targeting the parents so that the parents can promise their children that they will vote for these leaders who will focus on children's safety and not vote for leaders who are going to take money from the NRA.
So far, they've had more than 1,000 parents participate and post their pictures on social media.
What parent would ever break a promise to their child? It's such a powerful movement.
Change is going to happen, and it's going to come from here, and it's going to come from the kids. You're going to see it, not just here, everywhere.
Reporting in Parkland, Florida, Jennifer Bauer, KPRC, Channel 2 News.
Some statistics now for you from NBC News. 1,300 children under the age of 17 are killed by guns every year. Gun violence is the third leading cause of death for that age group.
The most recent school shootings have focused attention on school safety.
One idea supported by President Trump would be to allow teachers and staff to be armed. Investigator Robert Arnold discovered more than 150 districts are already participating in this.
In Texas, the concept of arming teachers is far from new. Harold ISD near Wichita Falls took this step in 2007, a year after seeing 5 children gunned down at an Amish school in Pennsylvania. By 2012, when the Sandy Hook school shootings happened, at least 10 school districts were allowing teachers to carry guns on campus. Districts near Tyler, Victoria, Wichita Falls, Lufkin, and Kerrville. By 2018, that number swelled more than tenfold. According to the Texas Association of School Boards, out of the more than 1,000 public school districts, 172 now have policies allowing certain employees to carry guns on campus.
It's the wrong move.
No districts in the Houston area have taken this step, and president of the Houston Federation of Teachers, Zeph Capo, says his members don't want to.
They're the teacher, they're the nurse, they're the social worker. They do not want to add police officer to that list.
Channel 2 Investigates found the districts that do allow staff to carry guns are in mostly rural areas where it can take a long time for help to get there. Agua Dulce ISD west of Corpus Christi posts signs informing visitors staff may be armed.
I would like to be able to do something more than throw a book.
Governor Greg Abbott recently tweeted a picture of a sign in Argyle ISD near Denton reading its staff may be armed. Medina ISD northwest of San Antonio also posts signs. And Callisburg ISD near the Texas-Oklahoma border believes this is the right move.
We're trying to put our teachers in a position to be better equipped to protect their kids.
Another 6 districts near Abilene also allow certain staff to be armed. There's 2 ways a school can arm staff. There's the school marshal plan. That requires a psychological evaluation and 80 hours of training from the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement, along with other restrictions. Then there's the guardian plan. School boards write their own policies for how this is implemented, which typically includes a requirement the person already be licensed to carry a handgun. Following the shootings in Parkland, more districts are considering going this route. Aransas past police chief Eric Blanchard is urging the school district in his area to do the same, even though officers can respond quickly.
Being able to rush in and handle that threat takes minutes, and those minutes equate to deaths.
But Cleveland ISD Police Chief Rex Evans said there should be a moment of pause when a school considers this option.
It's not a program that you can just implement overnight.
Evans says his district is not arming school staff. His worry, though, is putting officers in a position to tell the difference between an armed intruder and an armed staff member in the middle of an attack.
You could have a catastrophic incident occur on top of an already catastrophic incident.
Robert Arnold, KPRC, Channel 2 News.
Coming up, the debate continues over how to keep our schools safe.
Their fear is real, but they don't understand the complexity of what's going on in the country.
Our Cambrell Marshall sits down with those who share different opinions, but ultimately the same goal. And it's been a very present point in the debate, how one woman is working to help those dealing with mental illness as Generation Under Fire continues.
There is a fair amount of conversation surrounding mental health and how that plays a role in recent school violence. According to the World Health Organization, 1 in 5 people, roughly 43.8 million adults, experience mental illness in a given year. But only 41% of those, less than half, actually get treatment for it. Now, those numbers show that more people are dealing with mental health issues than you may have thought.
And a woman in Houston is leading the charge to make sure that they get the help they need. Here's Channel 2 anchor Sarah Donchie with her story.
We help families figure out what to do when they're facing a mental illness condition in their family.
Angelina Hudson is the program director at the National Alliance on Mental Illness Greater Houston, known as NAMI. One of her main focuses is helping people understand mental illness.
They don't understand the illness, that the brain is sick, and it's going to take time for the person to come back to a state where they're functional again.
Angelina helps connect patients and families with support groups, treatments, and resources to cope with mental illness. The frustration of not knowing what's wrong and not being able to find help is all too familiar to Angelina.
NAMI's was my first help, my first lifesaver.
She's a mom to 3 kids, all of whom have struggled with mental health issues.
Both illnesses are related to anxiety disorders, and NAMI has been an incredible support for me and my family.
Through NAMI, Angelina has connected with many Houstonians whose lives were turned around when they got the help they needed. Gary Eagleton is a Vietnam veteran who struggled for decades with PTSD after he was badly hurt during the war.
I was angry at everything and everybody, and I was afraid of everything. It affected my relationship with my family. I disappeared.
After getting help from Angelina and NAMI, Gary is doing well and even helps others in the same situation.
Over 90% of people with mental illness that are properly treated live normal lives, and that's what we would have.
If you or someone you know is going through a mental health crisis, NAMI can help. They have phone numbers to call, support groups you can attend, and resources to help you find a diagnosis and treatment. We have the link to all of that information on our website, clicktohouston.com. Sarah Donchie, KPRC, Channel 2 News.
For the past few weeks, our Cambrell Marshall has been tackling the issues of school and gun safety on his Sunday morning program called Houston Newsmakers.
As you may imagine, the topic often led to spirited debate among his guests. Here's Cambrell now with part of those discussions.
Everyone's in agreement that school and mass shootings are horrible and need to be stopped. My Houston Newsmakers guests these past 2 weeks have shown passion about wanting to solve that problem. The challenge is finding a way to do it.
The United States is the only country with this problem of mass shootings. There's no other country like it.
The question was how big a role mental health plays in gun violence in our country.
So if it's a mental health issue, are we the craziest people on earth? Probably not. What's the other thing that distinguishes us from every other country? Guns.
Maybe we need to look at, are there social ills that are causing some of these things? Is it the breakdown in marriage? Is it breakdown in family values? Are those things that separate the United States from other countries contributing to this?
So you don't think there's too many guns out there at this point?
Not at all, not at all.
The common denominator of the March for Our Lives, students and their demand for safe schools. On Newsmakers, HISD's leadership said safety is a top priority, regardless of its current budget issues.
The board's vision and goal in any budget process is to keep any reductions or any indirect effects away from the classroom. And obviously, having police and safety is a direct impact to classroom.
From the classroom is where this movement started, and it's also where Fort Bend's superintendent says his district offers encouragement.
We want to work alongside our students to empower them to have their voice heard. That's what they need to do, that throughout life. They need to learn those skills now.
And what I feel sad about is that I think there are political people who are using the kids in order for a political message, and the kids don't know that they're being scapegoated.
It's emotional and political. The question we will continue to ask on Houston Newsmakers is, will the children and emotion make a difference to save lives? To be continued. Cambrell Marshall, KPRC, Channel 2 News.
Still ahead tonight, working to make schools safer through design. How architects are crafting future school buildings and what schools are doing differently to existing buildings with hopes of increasing security. Next.
Thank you for staying with us. The string of school shootings over the years has many looking for ways to help. One thought is to design school buildings such that it would make it tougher for a gunman to get inside.
And many school administrators are looking for ways to secure current buildings. Roseanne Aragon joins us again from D.C. with that story.
School safety is a top priority here in Washington. In this exclusive report, architects and school officials take me behind the design process and show me how they're keeping students safe.
Sean Jones has a seemingly simple expectation when her daughter leaves to Cypress Park High.
When you put your kid on the bus or you drop your kid off, you just want to make sure that they're fine and that you're going to see them at the end of the day.
But safety in schools doesn't come easy.
Once you come into the main entrance, secure vestibule, right at the front door is very important.
PBK's Director of Design, Richard Chi, and partner Ian Powell take me into the design process.
Put all the ideas, you can sketch over it.
The firm leads in school design.
Every school district we work with is intentionally reassessing their circumstances and the way they react to safety and security topics.
They designed Cypress Park High. Guests are visible well before they enter.
We also have card reader devices on both doors, sets of doors here in the vestibule.
Intentionality, from the placement of windows, trees, even the use of materials. Everything has a purpose, but there's a balancing act.
It's very open, very well lit. You see a lot of daylight filtering through. At the same time, this is a highly secure environment.
Bulletproof glass and glazing, anywhere access cameras, even the environmental design.
The building actually performs as a natural barrier and provides a safe and secure internal learning environment.
There's also a well-practiced plan.
Close the curtain, lock all doors, hide away from any type of windows.
And hardware designers are coming up with technology to help. A teacher can lock down a classroom or an entire school with the press of a button.
This is Shelter.
The Shelter program was developed right after Sandy Hook. They proceeded to get our R&D development group in the office the next day and said, we are going to work on this project until we find an affordable platform to lock down schools.
The programmable fob allows teachers to remotely lock doors.
From anywhere in the room or on the campus and alert first responders.
Chief Eric Mendez says at Cypress Park, the building is a tool.
So all the different security measures you put into place buys precious time for our students to ensure their safety, to ensure a proper law enforcement response.
And with an active shooter,
every second matters incredibly.
Architects say choices count.
Without a doubt, I wouldn't want my kid at any other school.
Lawmakers tonight are now looking to answer the question, what more can be done? Reporting in Washington, D.C., Roseanne Aragon, KPRC, Channel 2 News.
As we head to break, a new NBC Wall Street Journal poll. Nearly 6 in 10 Americans say gun ownership increases safety.
That's 58%. 38% say gun ownership reduces safety by giving too many people access to firearms.
We'll be right back.
You can learn more about the content you saw here tonight on click2houston.com.
It is all in the Generation Under Fire section, right there under the News tab.
We thank you so much for joining us tonight as we examined ways to keep our children safe at school.
We leave you with scenes from this weekend's rally, both here at home and in Washington, D.C. Good night.